window to the universe. You are listening to Risale-i Podcasts.
Welcome to Risale-i Podcasts.
Great to be diving in again.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the Risale-i collection by Said Nursi. We're going to be exploring the function of prophethood.
And specifically the role of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. It's a really core concept.
Definitely. And just for context, I mean, prophets are generally seen as these vital links, right, between the divine and us.
Exactly. Guiding humanity, helping us understand God's will. And in Islam, of course, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is central as the final prophet.
So let's see what unique insights the Risale-i offers. This is what Risale-i says about it.
Moreover, as is proved in the 12th and 24th words, prophethood is so elevated in comparison to sainthood that a tiny manifestation of it is superior to a large manifestation of sainthood.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. It's drawing a clear line, isn't it?
A very clear one. It's suggesting a hierarchy where prophethood itself, its very nature, is inherently superior to even the highest states of sainthood.
It's not diminishing sainthood, though.
No, not at all. It's more about highlighting the unique role and the elevated status of being a prophet. You know, receiving and conveying that direct divine message.
Okay.
And the Uzaman actually points to the early caliphs, their successes, as an example of what he calls the legacy of prophethood, how those prophetic principles continued to guide.
That makes sense. And well, here's where it gets really interesting. The Risale-i connects this possibility of prophethood to God's infinite power and knowledge.
Right. It sort of grounds the whole idea.
Yeah. Think about the universe, its scale. This is what Risale-i says about it.
He creates the huge spring with the ease of creating a flower. Nothing obstructs anything else. There is no fragmentation in his regarding things. He is present everywhere at the same instant through the disposal of his knowledge and power. There is no division or distribution in his disposal.
So what's the takeaway there regarding prophethood?
Well, I think the argument is if God can manage the entire cosmos with such effortless ease.
Like creating a spring as easily as a flower.
Exactly. Then communicating with humanity, sending guidance through prophets, is well within that boundless capacity. There's no obstruction, no limitation.
It makes divine communication seem, well, perfectly logical within that framework.
Precisely. It underscores the limitless nature of the divine.
Okay, so moving on, the Risale-i then zooms in on the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him specifically.
His unique place.
It talks about humanity being central to God's purpose and our capacity to understand the divine. And then it says this about the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him.
Since mankind is the pivot of all the Creator's purposes in the universe, and since with his superior understanding man has received the addresses of that glorious one, and since Muhammad, UWBP, was the most famous and renowned of mankind, and as his works and achievements testify its most perfect and magnificent individual, that single one of glory took Muhammad, UWBP, as his addressee in the name of mankind. Indeed, on account of the whole universe, he made manifest in him boundless effulgences and endless perfections.
Wow. So here's where it gets really interesting again. He's positioned not just as a messenger, but as the representative.
Yeah, kind of the focal point. Humanity is the pivot, and he's presented as the most perfect, the most magnificent individual within humanity.
The ultimate recipient of God's address.
Right, acting on behalf of all mankind, even the whole universe, it says. It really highlights his unique station and the comprehensiveness of the message he brought.
And building on that, the Risale-i brings up prophecies. The idea that his coming was foretold.
In earlier scriptures.
This is what Risale-i says about it.
The first kind. The tidings of Muhammad's prophethood given by the Torah, the Bible, the Psalms of David, and other scriptures.
Okay, let's unpack this mention of previous scriptures. What's the significance there?
Well, it suggests continuity, doesn't it? That his arrival wasn't sort of out of the blue, but part of an ongoing divine plan.
Like a fulfillment of previous messages.
Exactly. It adds weight, placing his prophethood within that broader historical context of revelation.
And it's not just texts, right? The Risale-i also points to miracles.
Yes, tangible signs of divine support.
It mentions specific types. This is what Risale-i says about it.
We will give in this sign a few examples from among the prophets, UWBP, miracles that relate to his affecting increase in food, and that are definite to the degree of consensus in meaning.
Okay, that phrase, consensus in meaning, that sounds important. What does it imply?
It's very important. It refers to tawatur al-mana. It means that even if the exact wording of every report differs slightly, so many reliable people reported the core event.
Like the increase in food.
Right. That the event itself is considered definite, historically certain. It's like multiple independent witnesses confirming the same basic fact.
So it adds a layer of certainty to those miraculous accounts.
It's a very strong layer. It shows tangible divine backing for his mission.
The Risale-i Nur even includes a quote from the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, about his names.
Yes, across different traditions.
This is what Risale-i Nur quotes him as saying,
God's most noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, himself said, in the Quran, my name is Muhammad, in the Bible, Ahmad, and in the Torah, Ahad.
So what does this add? His own testimony.
It reinforces that idea of continuity again, his own awareness that his mission was connected to and anticipated by previous revelations. It links the traditions.
Then there's the focus on his faith, but Yuzaman describes it very powerfully.
Incredibly so. Unshakable.
This is what Risale-i Nur says about it.
In his faith, he had so extraordinary a strength, so marvelous a certainty, so miraculous a breadth, and so exalted a conviction, illumining the whole world, that none of the ideas and beliefs then dominating the world, and none of the philosophies of the sages and teachings of the religious leaders was able, despite extreme hostility and denial, to induce in his certainty, conviction, trust, and assurance the slightest doubt, hesitation, weakness, or anxiety.
Okay, let's unpack that description. What does that level of faith signify?
Faced with that much opposition, disbelief, hostility, to remain utterly certain without the slightest doubt, it suggests a faith born not just of belief, but of profound connection.
A direct line to the divine, perhaps?
That's certainly the implication. A conviction so deep it couldn't be touched by external forces, and one that, as it says, illumined the world.
And finally, the Risale-i Nur brings it back to the guidance he brought the Quran.
Its comprehensive nature.
It states.
And it was, again, self-evidently Muhammad, PBUH, who, in response to this desire of the universe's maker, by means of the all-wise Quran, acted as guide in the most comprehensive fashion to jinn and man, indeed to spirit beings and angels.
So the scope is just vast.
Universal, really. Not just for humans, but for jinn, spirits, angels too. It positions the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Quran as the ultimate comprehensive guidance for all conscious creation.
So through this deep dive, looking at these passages from the Risale-i Nur collection, we've really explored Said Nursi's view on prophethood.
Yeah, and the absolutely central, exceptional role of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him.
We touched on prophethood being elevated above sainthood.
God's limitless power making revelation possible.
The prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as the perfect individual, the key addressee for humanity.
Prophecies in earlier text, the significance of miracles confirmed by consensus and meaning.
His own words about his names, that incredible, unshakable faith.
And finally, the all-encompassing guidance of the Quran for, well, everyone and everything conscious.
We hope this exploration has maybe sparked some aha moments or just a deeper appreciation for these ideas as Bediüzzaman presents them.
Absolutely. It's profound material. Maybe something to consider is this. How does thinking about prophethood in this elevated way, as this unique function described by Said Nursi, affect how you view divine guidance in the world today?
That's a great question to reflect on.
You have listened to the Risale-i Nur podcasts, Window to the Universe. For more, please visit Risale-i Nur TV.